Hi, Dave here, and we have a new episode of the art review series. And this time we'll take a look at the work of Sarunas Macijauskas. I'm not sure how to pronounce this guy's name or girl. I'm not actually sure, but this person is apparently from Lithuania. So, yeah, very interesting. So we'll start with this guy actually doesn't have a lot of work in their portfolio. So although I do think it's kind of intentional, because if you check out this person's portfolio on ArtStation, it's all pretty consistent, and there's a kind of style. You can definitely tell that there's a consistency in the work. So we'll start with the first piece. So we have this guy, and but by the way, I do notice that there aren't a lot of environments in this portfolio. It's mostly character stuff, so maybe that's where the focus of this artist is on character design, and it's pretty interesting. So this is a kind of this was actually posted 6 years ago, and one key thing that I've noticed in the kind of work is that it's actually kind of tight for me. In my kind of standards or level, this is pretty tight, and it's kind of well painted and really interesting. Although I want to be a little more impressionistic with my work, I do want some parts to have a little more kind of like this, like detail. Say just 10% of a certain kind of painting, especially where the kind of focus is on. So I do want to apply this kind of tightness in the work and just do a little more detailing in this way. And you can tell, there are some kind of anatomical niceties and this thing. Okay, so again, this was posted 6 years ago. So obviously, again, you can see in this kind of layout, it is actually kind of well rendered. Although I'm not sure if this is anatomically accurate. Oh, look at that hand! Wow, he added, or she added, or they added some kind of reflections, probably from the ground, and then it hits the hand or the palm, and from the bottom. And this guy is also pretty good with the folds or drapery stuff. It reminds me of Mikhail Burulko, episode 1 of the art review series. And Mikhail does kind of the same thing. He also has hue variety. This artist has some kind of hue variety in everything, really. And it does add more and makes your painting less boring, because if you just add kind of one hue, it tends to look kind of flat. But if you add just a little more, for example, this guy has a little orange, blues, some purples, you can kind of see it slightly. Those kind of shift in hues. It does add a little more I think realism in the work. I think it can. So yeah, very interesting. So this guy actually does a lot of very weird characters, and I've actually never seen work like this. So this is a kind of orc, I believe. It's kind of a human orc thing, riding a kind of dead ostrich zombie. So again, there are some anatomical niceties or accuracies there. I love the way he portrayed, or they showed the kind of shoulder muscles. It's kind of really flexed right now. Oof. This guy's ripped as hell. Oh. And I love that kind of hand, Hopefully I'll reach kind of level one day where I can make hands look dynamic. Because yeah, look at the way he kind of added, or she added, the kind of shadow just below the armpit, kind of cutting through the lats right there, and then the kind of little shades of light in each kind of muscle kind of strands, or main kind of muscle strands, and that bit of highlight there. This is actually pretty tight for me, and maybe I'm not in this level yet, but hopefully one day I can kind of go a little further in my impressionistic stuff and kind of reach this kind of, even the skull thing. It's kind of a skull. It's pretty tight, and you can kind of see little organic forms within that kind of head right there. So this one's actually more of a mech suit-ish thing. And I don't see a lot of mechs in the portfolio, mostly just organic character stuff. And I think that's the kind of priority of this artist. But yeah, there are some kind of mech stuff. You won't normally see this kind of mech designs on ArtStation though. So maybe this fits a specific kind of world. So yeah, and again, look at this kind of a thing here in the, it's kind of some kind of armor. You can see kind of purples in there, some bits of yellow green. It just adds a little more. The hue variety, I think, is pretty apparent in this portfolio. And I'm not sure if this is some kind of mixer brush. Could be. And again, if you kind of zoom in on the work, it doesn't actually zoom as much. So maybe it's this kind of painting is kind of painted big, and then it's kind of resized to a smaller kind of image size, and it's kind of designed not to be exactly zoomed in. So yeah, this actually reminds me of Feng Zhu's work, where he doesn't really the resulting illustrations are kind of actually small. They're not very big. So maybe that's kind of the intention there. So you can kind of focus on the big picture stuff. So this one is a kind of hobbit thing. A leprechaun of some kind. Very hairy feet. Ugh. And again, I love the kind of variation of values in the kind of drapery, the folds. I don't see a lot of sketches, there are no sketches in this portfolio. It's all pretty finished. To me, this is kind of finished. This could be some kind of illustration for, I don't know, a book or something. Now this guy is, ooh, look at that head. Freaky. So there's a comment here on the side by Raul Vicente. Beautifully detailed artwork, telling a story in a single glance, and that little fella hanging from his waist is just killing me. Awesome. What do you mean? Can't see shit. Is this guy? Oh, it could be this kind of thing. So I guess there are a lot of kind of things in the character designs. It's kind of filled up and not exactly, like, nothing is left to be, nothing is mysterious for the most part, and everything is just depicted, and you're not really left to guess anything. It's really kind of straightforward and very detailed, or well rendered. I would say well rendered. And look at that knee. It's kind of bulky, but it looks very real. And those calves, those feet. Ooh, those little veins in the hands. Pretty cool. And again, the anatomical stuff is pretty accurate. The kind of bicep with the kind of cut here. I'm not sure what the muscle is called in this area. And look at that elbow. Pretty realistic, because usually when I would draw elbows, I would make kind of a straight line, and I would forget that there's a kind of dip in this elbow part right here, and then the muscle kind of shows through. And again, the abs, the belly button. Oh, I'm not sure if this guy paints in full screen and he doesn't really zoom in, or maybe he does zoom in and kind of fills up the kind of detail parts. I mean, damn. Oh, this guy doesn't have nipples, I think. Or this could be a nipple, I don't know. But look at that cut in the kind of pecs. Damn. And you can even see some of the obliques in the... So even the lighting is pretty cool. Oh my god. It's actually pretty detailed, or... It's a little too much for me. I am impressed, but I'm not here yet. I'm not in this level, and it's kind of intimidating. Maybe one day we'll get there. So I love the way the muscles are shown. Although this leg is kind of off, I think. It's kind of bending too far here. Maybe it's because of this kind of fold. It's kind of throwing me off. But, oh wow. I love the rendering of the muscles and shit. And again, you can see in the folds, it's not just one color. There's a variety of hues in there to make it more, I think, realistic and also interesting. It makes your thing look less boring. Yeah, this guy does very interesting characters. Oh, if you can see this kind of thin lines and stuff, this reminds me of Anthony Jones. Because he loves that kind of design where he would add like streaks of thin lines on some edges of his fabrics, and then he would add bits of highlight just like this one, and then that's kind of a signature fashion thing in Jones's work, Anthony Jones's work. Oh, and I love the kind of lat here, the latissimus dorsi, I believe. Very interesting. So this one's actually in grayscale, and it's actually, his characters are kind of very off-putting. Scary. Maybe this guy is focused on horror stuff or something. Or kind of I don't even know. This is a kind of zombie thing. But again, I love the rendering of the... For example, this one doesn't obviously have color, so it's just a value painting, but you can see the variety in the values. Anything that can add more substance and kind of an extra level of perception to your piece. Oh, I love the shield. It's kind of bent and stuff. So this is a kind of zombie, I think. Whoa. So again, some kind of value painting. Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that. It's actually, I'm kind of conflicted right now. You know what? No, I've made a decision to focus on kind of very painterly. I mean, this is painterly, but this is tight as fuck. And, maybe I can add a little bit of this kind of energy in my work. Just a tiny bit. So this one is in color, and you can see in this kind of water smoke thing, magic kind of thing. Look at the hue variety there. I mean, it's all under one color theme, kind of cool colors or cool hues. But there is a variety right there. Nice. And I like the kind of different light source in the kind of back of the knees or in the bottom of the legs. You can kind of see it here reflecting or kind of being depicted in the bottom parts of each kind of form in the legs. And again, the anatomical stuff is way, way, way beyond my level of comprehension. I mean, wow. It's so full of life to me. I mean, even if the silhouette is super simple, because of the way this thing is painted and rendered, it's pretty freaking amazing. And it reminds me of an idea how if you're having trouble doing stuff, all you have to do is think of the kind of motto, simple but well executed. So this is kind of an example of that. I mean, if you kind of zoom out or just step back a few steps and see the silhouette, it's pretty simple. But as you zoom in, it's just so well done. So yeah, fuck. So this is a kind of mech in a way, kind of a scavenger type of thing. And you can see those little fingers and the fingers within the fingers. Yeah, it feels like some kind of a collector. Okay. Very interesting. So definitely, this guy's focused on character stuff, and maybe this guy settled on this kind of avenue. I think this person can feel more creative doing these sorts of things, so they've kind of settled on this kind of field, right? Ooh, I love the wolf. Wow. Okay, so there are heads on the stick. Very interesting. And look at that. Like, there's so much color going on, even though the hues are kind of not as saturated. So maybe that's one more observation we can take away, is that this guy's work is not as saturated. He kind of saves it. For example, this kind of sword thing is a little saturated, and then everything else is kind of toned down. And excuse me, it reminds me of Yankees or Ki Young's work. His work is also kind of not as detailed actually, but he saves the saturation for certain areas, and yeah, nice. For example, in this lady here, wow, there's so many hues. In kind of the bottom part, you can tell that it's not as saturated, so he could have used some kind of gradient map, or maybe he just kind of or she kind of just picked, like, color picked along the way, and this person just has some kind of intuition to kind of see where the saturation ought to be. Focusing on the monkey, some parts are more gray, some parts are red, so there's a lot of variety. Oh, you know what? I forgot the drag stuff. You know what? Let's keep going. Even this parrot is kind of varied up with hues, and again, the fashion, the fabrics is well depicted. But I bet you, if you zoom in, it's gonna look a little more abstract or impressionistic. Oh, so this is, I believe I made this the thumbnail of this video. I love the hand, although this is, how the hell is she going to carry this? But yeah, so this is more of, it's kind of a mechanical part, but also very kind of knight-ish, you know, kind of armor knight-ish, you can see here, with the kind of plates and stuff. But I think this is very close to, or the closest thing to mech design this person is doing. And even for the figure, look at the way he's simplified the face. I'm not sure if it's because of this kind of glass protective thing, or he does just like to simplify the face. And again, even the skin tone is not realistic in the sense that it doesn't look kind of like cinematic, but it looks realistic in that there are a lot of variations in the way the lighting is done, the way the hues are. This one doesn't have a lot of hue variety, but you can kind of see some saturation and desaturation in some areas. And he did kind of add a kind of border in the silhouette, in kind of the edge of the silhouette, kind of a darker shade or darker tone of the kind of orange stuff. And wow, the shoes are actually kind of blended with the leg. Very interesting. So this one actually, I mean, I think this is human. Oh, I love the kind of cut there. Any kind of a pelvic area. And you can actually see a bit of the flat abs. He didn't kind of render it too much for this character, so pretty interesting. And he does this thing with the highlights. You can see this kind of white strand here. Let's go back here. Maybe... Nah. See that? Those kinds of shades of kind of highlights. Those kind of dashes and stuff. Now it's not exactly white, but it's pretty sharp or pretty straight, or it follows a certain kind of a direction, right? It kind of goes with the form and stuff. It's kind of like a comic thing. Like if you see comics, I mean they won't necessarily do it for the lights, but they will do it for some of the core shadows and stuff. So this guy is a kind of ranger, the police of the wild, at least as it says in the kind of description. Again, super, you know what, I haven't even dragged it. Drag it. Oh, and this hawk thing could actually be a painting. Yeah. So again, he kind of he actually kind of evenly distributes the amount of detail in his work, so it's not as defined in just one area, which I would probably go for. It's more of an evenly painted kind of thing. For this face, the face actually isn't as detailed for me. Maybe it is relative to the kind of the armor, this kind of wand sword thing. And you can kind of see in his work, it's very evenly done, generally speaking. Oh, look at that amount of detail. The way the forms are being pulled, the clumps of kind of the forms. Fuck. This guy is on a different level. Wow. This one's this is kind of a warm gray, I think. Oh shit. Let's drag that to the side. So again, even though I'm exploring or I'm kind of focused on impressionistic kind of stuff, I do, if it looks good and it's painterly, I will review it, because I think it can still help in some way. Oh, look at that kind of oblique stuff. Yeah. So this is some kind of worm. Very interesting, and just kind of popping out of that kind of thing. Look at the way the folds. Oh, I love that he showed some of the strokes here. So that's nice. Although, for the most part, you can't actually see his strokes or her strokes from this level. You'll have to zoom in a little bit. And of course, the photos are kind of unzoomable. I mean, you can only zoom in too much. And I think it's not designed to be zoomed in. So at this level, it looks pretty freaking tight. And I feel like the shoulders are off. Like it's supposed to go over here. So this cut is kind of putting me off. This one's a little more realistic, or makes sense. Or it could be a kind of oh yeah, it could be a special. Yeah, my bad. I'm sorry. So yeah. This one has its own kind of different kind of organic stuff, so it looks kind of different. But look at the hands, very dynamic. And he also painted them, or she also painted it. Fuck, man. So the face, for me, I would expect that he would or she would paint it a little more, but I'm surprised that it's kind of just left that way. So maybe this is kind of the level that is desired, because maybe it's because I've seen other artists render more of the face than the body in their character stuff. It reminds me of Miguel Iglesias, I believe. He usually starts with the face or head and then works his way towards the body for his character designs. And you'll notice in that guy's work, the face is a little more defined than the body. So this one's different. It's a little more evened out, and it does have an aesthetic. So maybe for some parts, I would love some of this kind of this kind of detailing in the forms and stuff. And look at the boobs, right? There's a kind of core shadow there, and then you can see that kind of change in light from the kind of bottom lighting reflecting up. And you can even see some of that rib cage action over there, and that kind of the kind of cut in the abs. This is a little too much. But again, it's very inspirational. One day. Oof. So this one, the face is very simplified to just a dark face. There's another face here. And again, you can see some of that variety in the kind of clothing and stuff. Some reds, some grays, and everything in between. Again, this one does remind me again of Ki Yang's work, or Yang Ki's work. It's very similar. This one's actually a little more painterly to me. You can even see it, especially in the kind of legs part. So maybe you do have to kind of paint small for these kind of things, right? Oh, let me just drag that to the side. Oof. So this one is entitled the Yeti Hunter. Poor Yeti. So these are some heads. Nice. And I love the bow. It's very organic. And again, he's painting, this person is painting a lot of things onto the character itself. So it's kind of a full piece in it of itself. Did I say that right? And look at the face. There's a little bit of red, some green, some kind of warm gray. A lot of hues going on there. And even for the clothing part, the kind of a jacket thing, you can even see some of the kind of yellow hues. Wow. Jesus. But again, it's not as saturated. The only thing that's super saturated in this piece is the kind of glowing red stuff in this kind of Yeti head. I'm assuming it's a Yeti head. And yeah. I mean, yes, it does look detailed, but I think it's very suggestible as well. If you zoom in, you'll probably see that it's not as kind of super defined. But this person does take an extra level, an extra step towards defining forms even more. Is it because of, or due to zooming in, or just using a smaller brush? I don't know. Or both. So this one is a White Walker he made for CDC. You mean the Center for Disease? Or fan art? Or not sure. Shit. Look at the head or the face. A lot of forms within the face. And it does look dead. And again, the only thing saturated in this work is the kind of glowy parts of the ice and this sword right here. So I guess this it's one of the things that helps to if this thing was way more saturated, I think it would be too much for the viewer. So I do like that when it comes to hues or saturation, it's kept simple, mostly desaturated and then saturated in some of the parts. But when it comes to the rendering of the forms, it's a little more detailed or rendered, but it's kind of spread out evenly throughout the piece. So that's fucking awesome. Oh, what is... Oh, fuck. Oh, look at that kind of a calf muscle cut there. Damn. This gotta be ripped. Alright, so this lady is a kind of sorceress. But actually this piece is way saturated, especially for the background. I love that she kind of or this person kind of toned things down with the kind of fabrics and stuff. But for the skin and especially this kind of glowy thing in the back, oh, I love that effect. It's way saturated, but I guess it makes sense because of the kind of context that this is a kind of sorcerer. This actually looks like some kind of alien thing. This could be some kind of tail. Damn. And look at the way the knees are rendered. It's very realistic. So a lot of studies probably going on in the background, human anatomy stuff. So this one doesn't have a nose, or a human nose at least. And look at the forms and the head. This could actually also be a kind of Star Wars kind of alien thing. Drag it to the side. Oof. So this is a kind of princess, I believe. And a skull council in the back. So this could be some kind of a elder guide, something. Wow, look at that kind of fire magic there. Lots of variety. Like there's more. If you focus on it or see the silhouette, the kind of main shape, it's very simple, but because of the way things are rendered within that big shape, it looks fantastic. Fantastic. And look at this folds right here. The folds right here. Damn. Did I drag it? I did. So this one's a little puffy. This kind of clothing right here. And this one's more flat and silky. Wow. So this guy probably did a lot of studies to kind of be able to depict this kind of thing. And I find it interesting that he left the kind of lady not as rendered compared to the fashion, or this, especially this kind of gold and silk thing. Wow. And look at that hair. Wow. There's even a kind of gradation of value or lightness. Wow. And there's actually not a lot of hue variety for the skin or this lady, but there is value variety. It's not super clean. There's kind of light and dark areas evenly or variedly spread out. Damn. Oh, fuck. Oh, I love the kind of shoes. It's a kind of a boot thing. Wow, that's really hot. Damn. Fuck. Oof. So this is an eagle hunter warlock. Okay. Look at that. Look at the way he did the fold, or she did the folds. It's very clumpy. And you can even see some of the kind of bottom lighting. I think it does help with defining the forms even more. Wow, look at that. Christ. And the sword is kind of very magical and stuff, very fluid and watery. Oh shit. And look at this eagle thing. It's kind of a magical eagle. And it has some kind of balled up stuff in the skin. And I can also see some of the kind of glow reflections from the the gloves are being kind of hit with the glowiness of this kind of bird. Wow, look at the beard. It's well rendered. Fuck. And oh yeah, for the face, this is actually a little more detailed, I would assume, compared to his other work, which is not as detailed compared to the body. But this one, I think she or he spent a little more time with the face as well. But I think if you kind of zoom out, this kind of drapery thing does take a lot of the attention. I think it's because of the contrast and stuff. Okay. Oh, did I drag it? I must drag it to the side. There you go. Now for the body, not a lot of hue variety. It's kind of flat actually, and this is what I'm afraid of. It can make it look a little flat if you don't have a lot of hue variety. But for this guy's case, he does add the kind of slight value variety in the body, so it doesn't look as boring. But I think it's kind of a stylistic thing. I love the knees though, and the kind of calf there. But again, this artist does spend a little more time with the fabrics, which is I think a style thing, and even the kind of snake behind it has a little bit of yellow and stuff in the bottom, but it's kind of left in like one solid hue. For the kind of fabric and stuff, this kind of the fashion thing. Wow, this guy spent some time with the triangles and stuff. Look at the way not all of them have the same kind of value shade, so it kind of shows that it's kind of facing a different direction. It does add a little more realism to his or her work. Although I do find the fabric is way more rendered to me. I think it's because of the variation of values compared to the snake and this kind of elf lady. Even the hair is a little more rendered compared to the body, or at least it looks that way. Oh, you know what? The body is rendered. If you kind of see the strokes, it is rendered. I think it's because there isn't as much range between light and dark values. Okay. For example, for me, the ears are a little more rendered. I think it's because yes, you can see some darks and lights, so there is a kind of a contrast, you can compare the values to its surrounding parts, but for say the leg, it's a little flat, or you can't see the changes as quickly in the values. Okay, we're learning stuff. So the same goes for this kind of green chick. Like for me, here you can actually see a little bit of the kind of different value changes, but if there was a little more darker parts, I think it would look way more interesting. I mean, if you compare her body to these kind of monkeys on the side, the monkeys look a little more realistic. I think it's because of the range of values compared to this body right here. For example, this part of the leg looks a little more rendered than this one. They could have been done exactly the same in terms of rendering, but because of this extra shade of light, it looks a little more there, right? So maybe this is a style thing, definitely. I mean, again, focus on the fashion stuff. Wow! Look at those strings and stuff. I mean, This is beyond comprehension. Damn. And again, the kind of silkiness of this fabric is very, very appealing. It's kind of golden silk thing. And the hair is kind of similar to the dragon thing. At least the hue. It's kind of in the yellow range. And if you notice in this kind of a staff thing, this kind of rod right here looks way more rendered. And again, I think the value stuff does the value variety, not just the hue variety, helps to make it more, like fuller. Okay. Oh shit, did I drag it to the side? Okay. So this is his final piece done, posted actually 4 months ago. So this is some kind of surgeon. And there's actually a comment right here by Brian Smits. Great rendering, Sarunas, and an awesome design. Like, I agree. This guy is, oh my god. Fuck. Excuse me. Look at the kind of highlights right there. The kind of fashion attire stuff. And look at the kind of bubbliness of the folds. Excuse me. It looks very bubbly. The forms especially. It's kind of like a ceramic kind of thing. Or kind of a plastic kind of protective gear. So this is actually more of an organic mech thing. And according to his description on the side, she only used Photoshop for this thing. Ah, fuck. Oh, look at the kind of detailing in the rendering of the metals. It actually looks like a like some kind of steel metal thing. So when it comes to Sarunas Macijauskas work, it's very well rendered. Usually saves the saturation for special areas like this kind of a helmet protective thing, or at least the face shield. And yeah, well rendered stuff. The folds are just beyond, especially the fabric texture stuff. It's very realistic. And yeah, so I probably won't be doing the same kind of work as this person or this artist is doing, but I would like to apply some of the kind of extra level of detailing in some areas of my work, and also taking note not just of the hue variety but also the value variety, where there are kind of shifts and changes within certain forms, and it's not just flat, right? And of course, some kind of texture studies definitely would help in my work. But again, I'm not doing a lot of detailed stuff, so I guess a little bit of rendering plus the value variety. Okay, so that is Sarunas Macijauskas for you folks, and I hope you learned something in this kind of art review. And please subscribe or follow him or her on ArtStation. And there's also a Tumblr link. Not a lot of links in the about page, but yeah, I hope you have a good day and keep painting.